to explore with
Hi, Samantha.
Hi. So we're 2:35. Let's go ahead and get started. We will call the meeting to order, 2:35. And for the record, we are at a quorum with 3 committee members here, and with committee member Quintanilla, committee member Eggleston, and committee member Susie Lance. And I know that Kirsty is going to be absent, but I'm not sure where Pamela is today. So we'll just go ahead and get started for the sake of time. We don't have any minutes yet to approve. We weren't able to get last week's meeting minutes completed by now. So we'll do that at the next time. We'll jump right into old business. There's 2 items to look at. There's number 1, the discussion on feasibility of an amphitheater, but then also B is the status update to council. So my goal with item B is to kind of get everybody on the same page of what information we'll pass to council. So when we get there, we can dive into that. Related to item A is a quick update. I know there was a want to hear an update from how the meeting went with the city manager and Leslie, and there's no action or reportable action that we can talk about at this point. Those are, I think, those conversations at this venture need to remain between the city and the Camino Real Playhouse, because I don't know where that's going to go. And so I think we can consider them a player in this conversation, but as we've kind of run through it, there's not necessarily city property that would help them. So I think we'll pause on any further discussion related to that. So for the purposes of this meeting, we want to focus on what is, I guess, another alternate locations or how else we should be presenting. If we're missing something in all of our discussions, we want to talk more about what are funding strategies. We've talked a lot about locations. And then we can, this might just dovetail naturally into what we bring to council. So with that, Mr. Eggleston, you have a...
Well, yeah, I think we're interested in knowing the content of the discussions that you had with the city manager as far as, were they productive, not productive, or...
I think they're productive. I can, and I know, I'll speak on behalf of you, Leslie, unless you have more things to add. I think they're productive, but they're not at a point that, it's not like there's a property that we have in mind right now. There's nothing specifically that has stood out. But the good news is, in general, the city manager is really supportive of seeing how the city can work with Camino Real Playhouse if council chooses to do so. And that's all I can say to it.
So if council decides to do that, is that going to be presented at the meeting on the 14th?
No, because I don't know that council, no.
Is it even going to be brought up?
So my vision or my thought, and then the committee can steer me a different direction. I think what we need to present to council are, here's our findings. We looked at sites, and then we looked at organizations, and these organizations are really interested in supporting any type of amphitheater effort or performing arts center effort. That would include Camino Real Playhouse. It would include the ballet and movement. It would include San Clemente High School. I think we list for our findings to council. These organizations would be interested in either supporting through fundraising efforts or through rental efforts or partnership efforts. We list it in that format rather than getting into the nitty-gritty of what could be a partnership agreement, because that to me is the next step.
Right.
Does that answer the question?
Right.
A little bit better?
Yeah.
So thoughts on where you guys want to see this meeting go today and some takeaways.
Well, one thing I think is important is to relate to the council, that an amphitheater at this point
Okay.
is far in the future. It's one, I think a city has to build up credibility and a reputation and enthusiasm for performing arts before an amphitheater is even considered, because that's costing millions and millions and millions of dollars. And the other group that was formed years ago in order to find an amphitheater spent, what, a couple of years and came away with zero. And I just think that, when we use the word amphitheater, I think we really need to substitute that right now with the realization that, in fact, an amphitheater is not feasible at this point. That, in fact, a performing arts theater comprised with various groups is more viable in order to build up that type of enthusiasm to go forward with the credibility of a city supporting performing arts.
Does the committee generally agree with that? And do you have something to add to any of
I
those?
agree. I'm going to agree with that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I agree. I also wanted to add, also we talked about the noise considerations.
Sure.
And that was going to be an obstacle. And so in addition to the funding, we may want to mention the
Okay.
noise considerations, if you all are in agreement with that.
Yes, absolutely.
To, in lieu of suggesting an amphitheater, to suggest a performing arts center indoors.
It's indoors, yeah.
If you all, at this time, is that kind of what you were heading toward, Wayne? Okay.
Yeah, I think you should start small. I don't know that we need to build credibility as someone, as a city that's committed to it. I think if it's there, people see tickets for things, they're going to buy tickets, they're not going to think, oh, St. Clemente doesn't really have a reputation for the performing arts. I think we just need to, I think it's always better to start small, because then obviously our people's mistakes won't be as big, and there's a big learning curve. So I think it's better to have a learning curve on the small side than on the big side. But I don't know about the credibility. If you build it, they will come.
And that's what Wayne said from the beginning at the first meeting, that we need to start small.
Yes, that's a good idea.
And I think that's always good, absolutely.
And gauge interest.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So this is kind of an opportunity for everyone to kind of see what kind of interest
Thank you.
ultimately we have. Is it 200 guests? Is it 600
Yeah, that's
guests?
right. That's right.
Sure. Since you're on number of guests, based on our meetings, what does the committee feel like is a good number of seats that we should be entertaining for any type of facility, if that's the case?
Well,
Yeah.
I think Leslie had mentioned about 150 seats, and then Amanda Cobb mentioned 300 seats, and I can't remember what Kirsty said. Was it about 500
I think
seats?
she said 400.
400? Okay.
Yeah.
300 to 500
That's
is
really
yeah.
big.
That's a
It's
big
really- that
space.
is.
That's really big, and you have to park that. That
Yeah.
area, 100 parking spaces, over 100 parking
Yeah.
spaces.
Yeah, so Leslie, I'll just mention that when I volunteered at the, for her drama programs, I was in charge of setting up the parking program.
Oh, wow.
And, well, I actually did not set up the lot myself, but I started to get panicked about how are we gonna park all those people. Fortunately, we had somebody that knew, like a parent volunteer who
Yeah.
did design those
Oh, wow.
and so we took over the entire grass of Upper Campus, and it was hundreds of cars that we would feed in a night.
Wow.
It was shocking.
Wow.
So I can just say from like firsthand witness perspective,
Yeah.
they were there. It was shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to have the space, what I meant was you need to have the space to park 100 cars.
Right,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, because that's a lot. And the other thing is, if you're doing a show where you need 150 seats and you're in an auditorium that has 400 seats, that doesn't look very good. That looks like you don't have anybody in
Right.
your audience.
Absolutely.
The idea that you had about the lockout,
Yeah.
what a great idea to be able to accommodate large groups or
Right.
something smaller in the 100, 150.
Well,
And
I
then
think
having
that,
the theater on the other side too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that's great. If we
Awesome
could do
idea.
that, yeah.
Yeah, and then you have your tech booth above the seats. So they're looking down and it's not taking away space. It's not limiting the size of your theater because they're above them. So, yeah.
Seems like most of the theaters around here, when I've been shopping, are anywhere from the lower side is 150 or up to Salem Hills is I think 466. Dana Hills is about 245.
But you're talking about high schools.
High schools.
Yeah, but they have to accommodate hundreds and hundreds of people. They're not necessarily selling tickets.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that those are the options that we have, and for me at least when I'm shopping, that's kind of what I'm looking at, and the price goes up considerably based on that too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that's actually quite specific, which is great.
So has anyone looked into doing something at the outlets, because they have a ton of parking? I mean, they're set up. I'm sure there would be a lot of synchronicity there. They would host us and love to have us there. There are restaurants there, and there's a side area where they had a circus this summer. Maybe somewhere around there.
And
I don't know if that's been looked
you
at.
may know this, to my understanding, that is slated for future development for stores or vendors or whatever I don't know.
Yeah, there's like future phasing in that area.
It's a pending wing,
Yeah.
that area, but I have no idea. Like,
Yeah, or what about the area that had the church, at the edge of the parking lot, kind of in front of Goldsmiths or something, that bakery?
Is that Rockwell's?
Rockwell's, yes, that's what I'm thinking, yeah, Rockwell's. And where they have the church over the, yeah. Exactly, yeah, there'd be a lot of, I mean, maybe we can look at it, we don't know unless we talk to the owners or the leasers. I mean, they may be finding that they could use less retail and a little something different to bring people in.
Is that already an established building per se, or is it just a?
No, there's no building, it's just a blank
So then we're
area.
back to square one.
Yeah.
When I called to look at renting space, we do outreach events there in the outlets, and they've been very, very nice to us. They love having us perform, and we'll use some of their spaces for dressing rooms just for the day, and then we're in and out. But when I called to see how much that room was, it was quite expensive, just for one space. So I don't know if they would negotiate with us.
Yeah.
Sorry, Amanda, which space? Or?
So the room where we've been using the dancers are in just the room, the abandoned store. That space is about, I would have to say, 3,000 square feet maybe.
Okay.
And I think they wanted about 15,000 to 20,000 for it. Yeah, for the one space. It's across from that Tommy Hill, right in the center there.
I can't picture it. I don't know which space that is exactly. But
So do you know where the Christmas tree is? So we were there, and then we put all of the dancers. There was that open side unit.
Okay.
So that one spot.
I
that
see.
one kind of parcel.
I think have you been to their, they have the event in October, the fundraiser, where they sell tickets to go back to the nonprofits. I think that's the space that they use. I'm not sure if you've
Right, but maybe if there's something regular, maybe they could use the income, maybe they see the benefit of having theater there. I mean, there's a lot of synchronicity there. There are a ton of parking, there's a ton of parking, I mean,
Right.
yeah.
And they did put in that movie theater, right? I haven't been yet, but
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
So Susan Jenrick,
so,
she
Leslie, how does that work in with what you're doing with the,
What in particular?
well, with looking at the storage units that you're in the process of?
Well, I mean, I think that's a great location. I agree with you. I don't know that there's anything in there, but that sounds like a great spot.
Yeah, well, maybe one of us can go and have a meeting with them. Anyone want to volunteer?
Yeah, so Susan Jenrick, she is the general manager. She's wonderful. She sits on the board of directors for the chamber.
Okay.
And she's very accessible, and so we can invite her to come maybe
Yeah.
to the next meeting.
That's a great idea.
I know she's on vacation this week, but maybe when she gets back, I can definitely reach out to her. But I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's nice to think about what it does for San Clemente too, because like when we think about this, we want them, like in San Juan, it's so sweet. They come, it's an event, they get dressed up, you go to dinner, you go to the theater. It would be so lovely if we could do that really close to Del Mar or to the shops or something that we're leading up to, helping the businesses.
Well,
Right,
that's an excellent
right.
point, because you want them, you really would like it to be in a location where they could, well, ideally, could eat dinner and walk to,
Right.
yeah, because then they eat dinner, they walk over, they watch the show, then they go out, back across and go to the bars and drink, and go for drinks. And that does bring a lot of money in.
And there's underground parking there, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
And I had thought that to the left of it was going in a hotel, but now I see there are medical offices going in there.
That's
So I
right.
thought it wasn't it supposed to be a hotel? I don't know what it
It
was.
Yeah, but there's funding for hotels is not the best right now. So I think it was been put on hold for a while.
Has anyone, I don't know if has this been brought up, but the community center in downtown on Del Mar, what are the chances of renovating that and building it up and making that into something larger?
I think we mentioned it last time.
Right.
Yeah, it would. That's something. If council, if the committee says the community center has a great location, it has the walls. Obviously, it's a community center, so it would need a facelift. But maybe if that's what the committee would want to recommend, that council pursue utilizing existing space. It's not going to be a
just not
huge
parking.
facility.
How big is it? You know, how big is it?
Yeah.
So the auditorium that's there, it seats 300 as it is today.
The stages, I want to say maybe 25 by 30.
Yeah, it's a
maybe?
smaller
Is
stage.
there's stuff in the back, like can they build
There's
back
backstage.
there? Yeah.
There's that room, right?
Yeah, there's a dance room downstairs, and then there's a side room, multi-purpose room. Building sets. When we did children's productions there, the city still runs a theater camp, and we build the sets on the shuffleboard court, which is now being remodeled though, actually. So that's probably an unlikely spot. So set building may be difficult, but it does have high ceilings and certainly has but it would need some tech support. But if it's about starting this effort and getting momentum of providing some art performances and things like that, certainly some really, potentially some simple upgrades to that space would light the fire, so to speak. But an architect would have to look at and making all that happen.
Funding and all
And
that.
the funding, yes, yeah.
We need to go up.
I know we talked about that as
Yeah.
far as like Forest and what they were doing.
Yes.
Maybe 14.
Well, I mean, to be able to fly is kind of like a top tier wish list.
Right.
It may have to be one of the first things to go, really,
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like the committee wants to look at considering the outlets. Is somebody wanting to speak? Is that Susie and Pamela who wants to speak with the outlets?
I'm happy to.
Okay. And then do you guys think that that the community center should be looked at as potential? Maybe not the perfect solution. But is there a want to consider that?
Well,
Interim.
yes, I think so. I think we talked about that. And also, even where they had closed session discussion, I mean,
Yeah.
that's an area where you could have the dressing rooms and whatnot and all
Okay.
that. So it is feasible.
Is that building being used a lot currently?
Yes,
Like,
it
what
is.
would be the impact on
It will
everybody
be
that
a
was
significant
using it?
impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The auditorium has a soft divider, so we have curtains that we draw, we split the room. But it is heavily used by recreation programs. So that would be the takeaway is you're losing space for rec programs.
Right, and I called called BPNR, and down at the community center, and they do country line dancing, and they do use the multi-purpose room there for line dancing, and then for ballroom dancing, and tango. So they need that that space to do that, so yeah, you'll be losing that.
It doesn't, we do get rentals too into the weekends. It's the fireside room is really popular for rentals. The auditorium, prior to COVID, we had a lot of quinceañeras and celebrations of life and those kinds of services were held in the auditorium because it holds so many people. And it does have a stage and it kind of has that big room feel. We don't get as many of those on the weekends anymore. So for Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, not really an impact, but it would be squeezing in rehearsals and things like that could pose challenges. And then we do have a regular church group that's been renting that space on Sundays really consistently. So, but that said, I think it sounds like it's not off the list. That would be part of the strength and weakness of that facility. Are there any other thoughts that we haven't touched on just in any of our meetings? And then we can move into item B if there's nothing else on the feasibility of an amphitheater. I think we've kind of captured everything.
Have we got any empty buildings up in the like at the top of Rancho, what is it, Del Cerro? In that business park, are there any of those buildings that somebody might want to be talking about renting or
Yeah, it's a good question. That's the business park.
Yeah, the business park.
I spoke with the city manager because I wanted to ask him was there any list of any empty buildings that we have, what property does the city own, and he was going to comprise, or he was going to have someone comprise a list of property or any spaces that the city owned or has a partnership, and he was supposed to forward that, and I'll follow up with him regarding that because I know I mentioned that I don't know Glenn Walker, but that hopefully that he could have, because I think he's the president of Rancho Business Park.
Oh yeah, I think that's right.
I thought he relocated.
Did he relocate?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know if he's still holding that position, or was in the process of relocating.
I think generally the business park's pretty full. It gets leased pretty regularly, but if the committee thinks that there's still viability in a commercial space up here, that could be looked at as well. You get into kind of a tricky parking situation within a business park. None of these units have a ton of parking.
And of course, you don't have all the restaurants and things.
Correct.
In other areas.
Correct.
I'm thinking in terms of desperation.
Yeah. And then, city facilities, we've gone through this. There's vacant land, yes. There's the parcel on the corner of La Plata and Hermosa. There's land, some land in Hermosa and this Hermosa Sports Park, although that's all been master planned. There's one square area that's supposed to be an indoor gymnasium. That's a pretty big footprint. And then there's that parcel of land that is on the other side of the meadows, the undeveloped soccer fields.
Right, but isn't there something in closed session discussion regarding
Yes,
LCFA?
council's been discussing that in closed
Correct.
session.
Yeah.
So really then the only parcel is that corner lot, which isn't parkland. It's designated completely differently.
It's really expensive.
Yeah.
Are you talking about La Plata?
Yeah, that
And
what
I
was
had thought that
proposed,
Hope
yeah.
was going in there. I thought that they had bid.
I think that fell through.
It fell through.
Yeah.
Well, the ideal thing was if the gymnasium is going up, could it be attached to the gymnasium?
There's not enough of a footprint. So when they amended the master plan to Hermosa to add in mini golf several years ago, that took away what was the larger footprint for the community center attached to the gymnasium. So now, and we're working through, we're in negotiations with another operator for mini golf development. So it still leaves almost a perfect square. If you happen to get to Hermosa, you can drive up there and you'll see that there's solar panels on the ground, and it's in a perfect square. And that fenced-in area is the gymnasium footprint. So it would be hard to tack on a performing arts with the gym. To say the least, that would be difficult.
So the Vista Hermosa, and I've been eyeballing that corner for a long time, and I actually wanted to have something like this go in there, and I've approached different organizations about having something similar to this, almost like Steelcraft. Have you guys has anyone ever been to Steelcraft? It's this multi-use area thing, which is really interesting and very modern. And they sell vendors, they have food vendors, and they have performing arts, and it's very cool, artsy, and interesting.
Is it Garden Grove or Westminster?
I think there are two of them. I think one is in Garden Grove.
Yeah,
Steelcraft.
Yeah, Steelcraft.
Get a Long Beach,
But it
too.
doesn't bring in a lot of money. That's the problem. I wonder if there's something that we could do with that area and use it while we're figuring on a permanent solution for it, and maybe we could just use it, borrow it. I don't know. I don't know for
something else other than hang out.
Feasible. Because you have all the parking too. You have Vista Hermosa Sports Park, which they have a lot of parking that's unused, and you could build a little walkway. I mean, that is a cute spot. I don't know if anything can be done there, though. I mean, you'd have to bring in electricity, you'd have to bring in a lot of things, but people do these things. I mean, you know, they put on Woodstock in a big empty lot.
We're creative.
Yeah, they get creative.
Yeah.
Are there any churches, such as the Presbyterian Church or the Methodist Church, that has more of an amphitheater type of situation that you're shaking your head yes? You're saying,
I've thought of that. I've thought of that. Or even an abandoned Boys and Girls Club or YMCA, even a basketball court, because we really just need the space, the structure, you know, because that is easier to go in and build out. It's still going to be expensive, though. But the Rose Theater could be a really great business model.
Where is that?
So it is, I was just pulling up the address right now. Let's see. It is...
That's in Westminster. Right?
Westminster.
That's the one we were talking about last week.
Yes. A lot of people rent this. It's a lot of money. The city built it.
Where is it again?
Westminster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I've heard it's beautiful. I've not been there, but I've heard of so many people renting
They
it.
do really nice work up there. Their shows are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's known
Rose Theater.
within the community of art to go and rent this theater. So it really could bring in a lot of revenue to the city if we do something nice. Then there is a need. People are going to Oceanside. What's the other one in Oceanside? Do you know what I'm talking about? The new one?
Well, there's the Maverick is up in Fullerton, I
Okay.
want to say.
Yeah.
And then Chance, Chance Theater, they do nice stuff too, but
Yeah.
they're far away too.
Aren't they
Yeah.
Carl's
Yeah.
No, they're north.
Chance?
They're
Okay.
north.
Yeah. So we really don't have anything here. It
And then
really-
the Curtis Theater is in Brea.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, but
I
there's
haven't
nothing
been
close by.
there. No. And even a lot of these ballet competitions are renting. They're going all the way to Downey, and they're probably paying a fortune for these places and facilities. So there's a way it would bring people from all over that
That's a gateway. That corner's a gateway to
really
the city.
It is.
I mean, and that's
Yeah.
a great location.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I mean, this was years ago when I started the Lopata Coalition. I was looking to partner with an up-and-coming, a very growing entrepreneur, maybe like Rancho Capistrano Winery or some organization like that, like some restaurant group.
It was a Facebook page, right, that you had?
What?
It's a Facebook page, the Lapata Coalition.
Yes,
It's a
yes.
Facebook page, right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's okay.
And I couldn't get any interest. I mean, I just kind of stuck my toe in, and I mean, I didn't know really. I just stuck my toe in and tried to see if I can get someone interested. I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing, and I just have ideas, and I just kind of throw stuff in there, and I think it's a great corner. I really do. It's really, I bet you there's some group out there that if they knew about it, they would get excited about being there, because, you know, you have the Lapata that's right down the street. You have so much. You have the Target, then you have something going into the Target, and especially there's something really attractive, really modern, really interesting and cool, kind of interdisciplinary with like little food court, like an international food court, and benches and food fire pits, and I mean, there's money to be made at that corner. It's just getting the right organization who's in an expansive mode right now and not in a de-expansive mode, right?
And that isn't.
Well, it needs to be a gas station.
Wait. No. Well, actually, that lot.
Over my dead body, that's what I said
actually,
years ago. Well, thank God we didn't have to go that far, but.
Actually, that lot is already under consideration.
What?
That lot is also under consideration. There's 3 lots. That is a closed session item regarding the OCFA.
Oh, it's still,
There's
okay.
3 lots, yes.
But is
And
it,
that's
do
one of
any
them.
realtors have it right now? Are they
I don't think
taking
it's active.
bids?
It's not
It's not
actively
active.
listed right now.
Oh, it's, okay.
So I think in general, the committee has said, kind of from the beginning, it's easier to do something within an existing space. Developing is very expensive,
Yeah.
number one, but also will be a very long process to get there. So for the purpose of our meeting and to not kind of go around and around, we want to take, our goal today is to get something kind of ready to go to council. The council needs to hear what the findings have been, and then the council can decide really where the committee goes after that. Do we go down one avenue of let's develop something, or let's turn something into something?
I think the community center is the most viable option right now that we have versus a warehouse. But and I don't know what the negotiations or the talks were, because I know that's preliminary. But I think the community center is, I think, the most viable of what can be done.
Okay.
Well, and the outlets, maybe.
Or the outlets, right? But
Because then the
that's an empty,
parking's
that's an
there.
empty lot, correct? Or
No,
is it
I mean, there's electricity, there's a whole infrastructure there that's.
so it's
maybe
an
we could-
actual building? 'Cause
No,
I thought I
no,
asked-
I don't know if there are any buildings right now. Are there any open
I
spots there?
don't,
Do
I'm
you
not
know?
aware of that. I think
know.
what you're speaking about, Amanda, the simplicity of the community center already being owned and operated by the city.
Right.
Versus, going
Yeah.
with an independent owner, you'd be working with Steve Realty and the Craig Group, or I'm not familiar
Right.
with that entity.
Well, it's obviously faster.
Yeah.
Parking. is
Yeah,
just-
for sure, it's a great idea, but maybe,
I mean, and it's right on the highway. Imagine having a sign saying St. Clemente Performing Arts Center right on the highway. That would really,
That would be pretty cool.
wouldn't that be
That
cool?
would be very cool.
Yeah.
Laguna does it, though. Laguna does it with the trolleys. I mean, if they're doing it, if they can get all of those people out of pageant every night, and they sell those shows out,
Yeah.
it's not, we could figure out, the trolley system's already going through.
Yeah,
Belmar,
that's true.
right?
We'd have to really,
They could park at the outlets.
Yeah, that's
Then
true.
that also gets the support to the outlets, too. Because people, if we're taking them back to the outlets, busing them from Del Mar, then it's kind of a win-win. I mean, ideally, it'd be better to be at the outlets, but it is so nice.
Yeah.
Community center is already owned by the city.
Right.
It wouldn't cost as much. I mean, it would still be a lot of money, though, to, where are we getting this money from? To build up the facilities,
yeah. Well, that's why it would be good to partner
Yeah.
with an
That's true.
organization
Yeah.
that is forward-thinking and that's aggressive, entrepreneurial, one is looking for what we have to offer.
Yeah.
We can just, find.
And I think that's what we've been, that is what we've been saying, I think, from the beginning about having the partnerships there.
Right.
I'm glad when you mentioned that, and Leslie as well.
Okay, so we've kind of already come into item B, 2B, which is the status to council. I will recap this meeting, and I think this has been a really good overview of where we've been. Just to clarify, the community center seems like a simple path with upgrades. Of course, there's a cost to everything. And that's really the big headline. Everything will cost money, no matter what we do. But that's an option. And then it sounds like the committee feels the outlets has an ideal location from freeway access to parking, but we're uncertain of what the venue holds for us, whether that's outdoor space on top of the parking lot or an existing unit that would be for lease. Probably expensive.
Oh, I have a really quick idea. You know, if the community center, one thing that we could do is maybe we could, if the city would fund it, we could have its own trolley coming from the outlets to go back and forth. And maybe, in an ideal world, and I envision like a trolley even that looked like the Performing Arts Center, that had stuff from the Performing Arts Center inside, that was kind of Disney-esque or very performing arts-esque and theater-ish, and that would be cool. Then just go back and forth, just outlets, community center outlets. Yeah.
What does it do right now? Does it do Laguna? Because
there are a bunch.
Yeah.
The one goes to, well, they all stop at North Beach, and then they stop at North Beach, and then they come back around, and then they go down to down Del Mar to the pier and stop there, and then it comes back. But it stops a whole bunch of places, and it stops at North Beach, and it stops in various places as well. But I mean, if it was just the dedicated, decorated, Performing Arts Center trolley, and then we could kind of promote it, that they could start their evening there. That's an idea.
So, those sound like the locations. I will, in my report to council, of course, I'm going to include that the committee looked at the Krikorian Theater, cost prohibitive again. A lot of improvements need to go on, and it's pretty costly to lease it. We've gone through a lot of different locations. We've talked about the business park. Parking can be a problem. Is there any other location that you want to have mentioned that we considered that was either a yes or a no?
I just have a thought, just not specifically to answer that.
That's
but
okay.
Just when we're considering an amphitheater space long-term with a city partnership involved, are there any obstacles to that? Like, I think we want to look at anticipating what potentially could be an obstacle. Maybe right now we have a council who is really supportive of the arts, right? And we're going to get buy-in. But long-term, what might that be if there's a change in leadership, maybe with council or city management or the players, because there always is, right? So is that potentially, could that be risky? And, to say our recommendation is to utilize the city building just for cost effectiveness at this time. Would it be smarter or more thoughtful, looking to the future, to consider something that is more independent, or as you said, maybe looking at investors and things like that? Because, maybe to look at which communities have partnered with their cities. Is it very few? And if so, why? Are there other communities that have thriving performing arts centers that are standalone, right? So Wayne, you'd probably know more, or those of you who have been more involved in council, anticipating what could an obstacle be in the future, I think is really crucial before we put a recommendation down.
It was Councilwoman Laura Ferguson who proposed this when she was on council, with the support of Councilmember Steve Noblock and I think I can't remember with others, and then when she fulfilled her term, it was it was Councilmember Noblock who still proposed it, and then he became mayor pro tem, and then still proposed it. So that's where we're at now with the support of other council members. But I think that if one person, one council member, or not even that, or even just the members of the public come to the city council meetings and, request that, and, there's a lot of power in public comment. And definitely with fighting the toll road for years, we know that.
I mean, I guess I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, if it's
Right.
a city, let's say we decide, okay, we're gonna do some renovations on the community center, and everyone likes that idea, and we move forward with that. What's to say if we're not owners or stakeholders, financial stakeholders, that couldn't just be swept out from underneath us if there's a change in leadership, right? So I have no idea,
Well,
but I want to think that.
I mean, I think everyone would get behind a performing arts center. If
I
anything,
would
they're fighting.
too. I mean,
They're fighting among themselves
Yeah.
all the time, and they probably will forever, and that's at least one way. It's like, well, they argue about this, argue about this, argue about this. Oh, let's talk about the Performing Arts Center. And they're like, we can all agree about that. And I think it'd be kind of a way for them all to kind of get
I
together
agree.
and have fun with something. and
yeah.
God knows.
It's a positive, not a negative.
It's all positive, and it's all future-oriented.
Leadership is going to change
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we can even consider that at this point.
okay.
We just go forward.
I mean, they could find mold. I mean, anything could happen,
That is such a great point, though. So how did they get the funding for the gymnasium, but it's not a performing arts? Like, how did that happen? How is the gymnasium, how did that process happen?
So there's no funding.
Okay.
There's let's be clear.
It's about funding for a pickleball course.
And there's also no funding for that. So
How is that temporary?
well, temporary ones, yeah.
There was funding, I guess, for temporary pickleball courts in the amount of $1.2 million.
Right.
Right.
So, your question is, how did it get designated?
Okay,
within
yes,
that?
thank you. Okay.
And that was done through the master plan process.
Okay.
There was a want from the community and an identified need that the city should have an indoor gymnasium. It should belong in the Vista Hermosa Sports Park because you have other sports going on. You have an aquatic center, and it was driven out of that. That was really. That's how that came to fruition. Now, Wayne, you might remember this. The Vista Hermosa Sports Park was not always supposed to be there. It was originally planned for Forster Ranch.
Right.
And if you look on an aerial of Forster Ranch Park in the middle, there's this really funny looking little, what we call a soccer field. It's actually was supposed to be an aquatic center, a community center space, and it was supposed to go there. And then eventually that, all through conversations in many years, it landed at Hermosa.
Yeah, well, but
And then
when
the
the city
Target.
had the land for Target,
To Target.
sell the land for Target, that was the money then to be used to across the street for Hermosa Sports Park.
So the sports park was a conversation for decades of planning, and the gymnasium was always a want there.
Yeah,
Through all those conversations, performing arts has never come up.
it never has.
Never has. Community centers, yes, always have come up. Gymnasiums, yes, but never specifically performing arts.
Okay.
So it's good to combine them all.
And the spot could also be, I've always thought it'd be fun to have like a food and wine festival here. I mean, we seem to be an ideal place for that.
We have that, which is
You know.
Oh,
Yes, I will. Yes.
Okay, well, definitely, if you are all feeling like, if we were to utilize the city space and we would not be at risk of, being in a situation where, we build it up, we invest, and then 10 years down the road, someone says, gosh, we should take a look at that because the city owns that and maybe we should use it for pickleball or pickleball 5.0, whatever it's going to be. It's just something that I just want to make sure that we consider before we put the proposal down. But if you all feel confident with that, I'm on board. I just wanted to make sure we went through all the options.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. Where are
Yeah.
we? Where are we on the pickleball courts?
I have no idea.
I don't think we can.
Another meeting.
Yeah. that's
So
something
is there anything else on things that need to be included to city council.
I think we've covered a lot.
Terrific. A lot of ground.
And you
Agreed.
put a lot of stuff, a lot of notes together.
Agreed.
Yeah, Samantha has a new part-time job on Amphitheater.
So are you going to invite the outlet person to the next meeting?
Yes, I'll invite her. I don't know
Excellent.
when she's back. I believe she's probably back after Labor Day, so it wouldn't be probably till mid next week that I'd be able to reach her. But I will certainly invite her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't we, if there's nothing further on 2B, things for council, if we didn't miss anything there, we can move into item 3A, which is the date for our next meeting. As you guys know, we're targeting to get to council with an update on the 14th of September. So thereafter would probably be better, sometime the week of the 18th or the 25th. And I do have to have enough time to publicly notice this, so that, keep that in mind.
And then the September 14th, that you're going to present that at the September 14th meeting?
Yeah, I'm not sure how the city manager wants it to, what form. I don't know if it should go under, if it's a new business item. I'm not sure. Not clear on that, but we'll find out. And what kind of report he wants it to be, but we'll get there. Does the committee want to designate a committee member to speak on behalf of the committee? It could be a no, could be a yes.
How about Wayne?
Wayne.
I'm going to be at the
Wayne.
Marine Corps League meeting that night, so
Oh,
I
okay.
won't be there. So,
Kirsty might be,
She would be great.
yeah.
who?
Kirsty McCleary.
Sure, let's nominate her if she's not here.
Yeah.
Very
There we go.
Okay.
So that would be to present at the 14th or present at the 5th?
Yeah, and it would be the 14th. It's really in case the council would like to hear from a committee member. Sometimes it helps to have a designated person to do that.
But you'll make a report.
But I'm going to have the report, yes.
Are they having a meeting on the 5th?
Yes,
Council
special,
Yes, there's a
Yes.
meeting on the 5th, yeah.
yes.
So I nominate Kirsty,
I second that.
and if, she's not here to accept, so I don't know how that works.
She's accepted.
Would you consider being an alternate?
No, I won't be there.
Okay, so
I
not
won't be there at all that
you.
time. It's a Marine Corps League meeting.
Let's just assume she's gonna say yes.
Okay, that's fine. And if there's nobody there, that's okay too. And anybody from the public can certainly, if it's on the agenda, you can speak for 3 minutes and all of those things. So not a big deal either way. I just,
Right, okay.
We're just presenting our findings and then we're just, thumbs up,
Yes.
keep going and that's.
Yeah.
Yep.
She just needs to be the cheerleader.
Yeah.
She can dress up as a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There we go. I have some-
and I think if I'm correct in this, but please tell me if I'm wrong, our goal is for council to maybe give us some direction going forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because
Yeah.
amphitheaters, I think, out of the
Correct.
question.
Okay.
Yeah, and they need
Very
to
good.
do
That's the
that
big thing.
Over here and
Where are we going from here, council?
wherever, what do they want?
Right.
What do they want at this point?
Okay.
Excuse me, and can we propose that we change the name of the committee to the Performing Arts Center Committee?
Good idea.
San Clemente Performing Arts Center
Okay.
Committee? Do
Yeah.
we like that?
Yes, it's much
Yeah.
better than amphitheater. Yeah.
Committee's good with that?
Yeah, thanks for suggesting.
But it can be outdoors, right? Still, are we?
Sure.
But I love the
And
idea
there's
of
the
it
one with
outdoor.
the
Yeah, but
new
it
committee
needs to
for
be-
Arts and Cultural Center.
So that's a great point. So council might decide, after all of this, you guys did an amazing job, but we actually just formed a new arts and culture committee.
Right.
And we think this conversation should go to that committee. And that's okay too. And they can take it from there.
And you can fill out applications to be on that committee.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes, you
One
can.
other thought is just, I know we were talking about the outlets and that being something that we would mention in this. However, it would be really ideal if we had the information before the report, because if we go to council and we propose the outlets, we suggest for all these reasons, and that's completely out of the question, is it like a moot point? So I don't know about the timing, but
We won't be able to do another meeting
Right.
ahead of this
No,
meeting.
no.
So if it's easier, I'm happy to have the report read that the committee would like to look further into the outlets as an option, but
That's fine.
has no specific findings.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to keep it a little bit,
Sure.
soft, so
Right.
it's not like, well, because we don't want people trailblazing to the outlets for this if that's not even feasible, right?
Right.
Okay.
This should go on business council meeting agenda too, the amphitheater.
Right.
So we'll add that there's a recommendation to change the name or consider if this is a better fit under the new Arts and Culture Committee.
Right,
Either one.
right,
And we need direction if that's the case.
right. It could be a subcommittee of the.
Sure, it could be,
of
certainly.
the culture.
Okay. So we'll get back to the next meeting date.
Is it helpful, while we have a lot of people that really know the theater, to give specifics of, like, would it be helpful to say 250 seats and 40 by 50 for the stage and this much space for the, is that necessary right now if this committee goes on hold?
No, if it goes on
Yeah.
hold.
Yeah.
I think we want to find out, is council amenable to us looking towards the auditorium, if that's the case, or looking at another space, because that gets into kind of more finite detail.
Okay.
We know that we ideally are looking for a space that seats anywhere from 150 people to 400 people, and that's a big range, so anywhere in between is great. That's a win then. I think that's the most important number, really. And then the staging aspect, the size of the stage, we would get into that through design. Yeah.
Okay.
But all indoors, we're now kind of shelving the idea of doing an outdoor theater, right? Because I love the idea of an outdoor
That
theater.
was from the first meeting.
Yeah, that was from the first meeting discussed.
Just for now, because for now, we're again kind of going back to, we're talking about the noise and the financial impact. But not to say that down the road, an amphitheater wouldn't be a great consideration. But just again, to kind of Wayne's point, starting small, working with an existing blueprint
Yeah.
is our recommendation.
Right,
That
right. No, I
to-
know.
To be open-minded for
Yeah.
what could
Yeah.
be and anticipating the enthusiasm that we're going to create.
Is the Rose Theater, is that an outdoor theater?
No.
No.
Indoor.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Seats about, I think, 400 to 500, is that right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Are-
it's large.
Are there
yeah.
any profitable amphitheaters around? I mean, maybe there's
Moonlight.
probably a reason why it's not.
Well, there's the amphitheater and the community, in Laguna Niguel, the community park, and it hosts about, 80, oh my gosh, concerts per year from what I spoke about. I mean, I've been doing my research, I've been contacting people, so yeah, I think it was about 80 concerts
It's
Oh,
per year.
small.
It is
It's
small.
really
And the
small,
problem
yeah.
with even reaching out to like Shakespeare by the Sea, and they had concerns regarding that amphitheater because the height, it was just too small, and so there was concerns regarding
No,
that. so-
neither she nor I could perform there. It's too tiny.
Councilor Monica is a little less big, but it's such a
Is that the
small.
one-
What is it?
Councilor
No, the one
Monica.
she's talking about.
Oh, right, okay.
It's very
Right.
small.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moonlight, I think, is the only
Yeah.
one that's probably, and there's something in Rancho Santa Margarita, right? Too.
Well, there's the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, the yeah, there's that.
Let's think big.
Yeah.
No noise problems there.
So do we want to land on another meeting date?
I think it's always smart to do
Okay.
that and change it if it doesn't work.
Okay. So let's look at it would have to be no sooner than the 20th for posting purposes. Just after that council meeting, if there's an update or anything.
I would prefer at least after that week, so the 25th would be
Okay.
better. Maybe the 28th, 27th.
All those dates are fine. I would prefer before 1:30 if possible.
Okay.
28th would work for me before 1:30.
How does the 28th at like 10 a.m. work for everyone?
When's
You want to do
Oh, wait,
11?
bring muffins.
What if we did 11,
Yeah.
Wayne? Is that
Cinnamon
better?
rolls.
Okay, the 28th at 11 a.m.
Okay.
Okay.
Wayne should be awake for about an hour by then.
Do you drink coffee, Wayne?
That's elder abuse.
I'm looking out for you.
Would you like me to contact Kirsty to see if she's available on the 14th
Yeah.
for speaking at the council, or is that your role, Samantha?
Yeah, why don't you reach out to her? And
Okay.
it's okay if she's not. She's.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. I don't plan to say. And here's Kirsty.
Right.
But it's always, I think that's always good to have someone to
Yes,
speak because
it is.
it's a working group, so they yeah.
Yeah, they don't just need to see me. I want to make sure that the councilors, this group, has done a lot of work.
Correct.
So,
Exactly.
She is a drama teacher, so she can handle that.
can she sing her?
Yes, she can.
That would be nice.
And then I will also tell her that there was a unanimous decision that she wanted cinnamon rolls on the 28th.
Okay.
Hopefully wants her.
Hearing nothing else,
Okay.
we will
September
adjourn.
28th at 11.
That's correct.
Okay, right here, right?
Right here in this room. If it's not, well, if it's not in this room, it'll be in a different conference room. But here.
Okay.
Or at the community center. I don't know yet. I have to look at the bill. I have to look at the facility bookings, but it will be in a building. All right. We will adjourn then at 3:31.
Okay, great.
These are very succinct meetings, you guys. Very good.
Thank you.